benchmark.
No, we know the problem,
and that's why the biggest and most powerful policy that we've introduced in this area in this Parliament has been the Lib Dem policy of the pupil premium. That is rapidly closing the disadvantage.
Well, you've mentioned that. Is there any evidence of that, Bramwell?
Yes, there is.
There isn't. Well, your name is not Bramwell.
Funnily enough. There is some evidence of some narrowing,
particularly at Key Stage 2.
But it's very hard to pull out just one result, and we'll have to see what follows through to those children. But the key question, both for Nicky Morgan and for Tristram Hunt, is: would you support the pupil premium through the next Parliament? Is that part of your funding plan?
Yes, it
you would
is.
all the way through. You would fund it.
We
Tristram
mentioned
Hunt,
that
would you
not
fund
in
it?
real terms. Not in real terms.
Tristram Hunt,
would you protect the pupil premium in future?
Well, Bramwell, the attainment gap is widening under this government. The gap between children on free school meals.
You're not answering.
I'll tell you the reasoning behind it. The gap between children on free school meals and non-free school meals, according to the Nuffield Foundation and the Demos think tank, is widening under this government.
So
that's a no. You wouldn't keep the pupil premium.
We would keep the pupil premium, but we think more needs to be done with it because the gap is widening at the moment. So it's not working as effectively as it could.
So it's such a good idea you would keep it.
There's an interesting philosophical point here about how children whose parents are not working quite rightly receive support in terms of pupil premium, but parents who are working, they're working 2 jobs, they're the working poor, they're often not getting the pupil premium support. And I'm hearing from a lot of head teachers that the way in which the pupil premium is sometimes managed in our schools is actually creating the wrong signals for those families. So we need to think very carefully about how pupil premium...
All right, Tristram, let me put this point.
We will keep it.
You've said there that attainment's getting worse under this government. But under Labour, 1 in 3 pupils left primary school having failed to reach a decent level in reading, writing and maths. It's now down to 1 in 5.
And
it's better than under you. So why is attainment worse?
And what were the figures when we took government?
Well, that's not the relevant. I'm talking about 1 in 3.
Because I think
it was 1 in 3 under you. It's now 1 in 5. It's got better.
Look, we have to think.
Hold on, let him answer.
Had 13 years in power.
We have to think about what we inherited in the mid-90s, and the schools, thanks to the Tories, were in a terrible state. Labour invested...
You did improve it. I'm not arguing you didn't improve it, but it was still 1 in 3. It's now only 1 in 5. 4 out of 5 get decent ability to read, write, maths. So in what way have things got worse, which you just claimed?
The attainment gap is widening between children on free school meals and non-free school meals.
All right, David Laws, what's your reply to that? No, you've said, David Laws.
Continues to repeat this. It is untrue. The Chief Inspector has said that the gap is narrowing, both at Key Stage 2 and Key Stage 4. Nobody in the world thinks it's widening at Key Stage 2. And to the extent that Key Stage 4, this is the end of 16...
That's the figures I was quoting.
To the extent that that has not narrowed as much as we would want, it's because, actually, we've had to get rid of some of the qualifications introduced by Labour, which were not giving a real picture of the true improvement of the education system, and we're incentivising many youngsters from poor backgrounds to do subjects and qualifications.
We need to stop there because I'm moving on.
Promises from 97.
Right, we're moving on. We've done a lot on schools. We could spend all day. I would like to, but we haven't got the permission of the scheduler on BBC to do that. So I'm going to move on to childcare, because all of you have been making some pretty bold commitments about providing childcare for families. It is a big issue for families. So let's just look at it. Nicky Morgan, why is what you're promising better than the others?
Because we are promising an additional 15 hours, which takes up to 30 hours for working parents. But that builds on the achievements of the last Parliament, where we had extended the hours available already for 3 and 4 years, all 3 and 4-year-olds, 2-year-olds from disadvantaged families, but also spending more money in terms of early years. We're spending £1 billion more in the last Parliament on early years and childcare. We're also going to introduce tax-free childcare, which is going to bring real flexibility for parents with children up to the age of 12 and actually up to the age of 17 for those with children who are disabled.
Bradman, how does that stack up?
Where are you going to get these free places from? Nursery providers are already saying that they are subsidising from paying parents to meet the cost because they have had so little extra per child. Kent is raising the amount per child by 1p next year. Now, if that kind of rate of increase goes on, how many nursery providers do you think are going to say, I will offer 30 hours and I can make my sums add up and I can run my business?
Well, what we announced yesterday, supported by the National Day Nurseries Association, was a review working with them on the hourly funding. We're going to uprate the hourly funding, but also look at the whole funding formula, because we also know that we give money to local authorities and top slice it.
So you don't yet know if you can pay for it?
We
really?
absolutely can pay for it. We've already earmarked £350 million from the taking away pension relief from those on £150,000, but we're earning £150,000. But we have also in the last Parliament...
Haven't you spent that in other places?
No, that's divided between the inheritance tax and also childcare.
Oh, really? So you slipped in childcare as well as inheritance tax?
Well, we're going to raise 1.4 million and 350 million.
Have you had this independently audited?
This is the money tree.
It's not the money tree. If you want to talk about money tree, David, look at the Liberal Democrats and we can look at the Labour.
All right, David Loss.
Andrew, there are two big differences between our position on this and particularly the Conservative Party. The first is that we're saying we will protect the real budget for the early years. Conservatives are saying that would be an unprotected departmental area. The Institute for Fiscal Studies are saying that means 15% cut. So goodness knows how the Tories can fund this. But the second big difference, it's a difference both with Nicky and with Tristram, is this, that we want to improve and have a universal offer, the same amount of hours for all youngsters who are 2, 3 and 4. And we would expand the 2-year-old offer in the next Parliament. Both Tristram and Nicky are saying something that I find pretty extraordinary when we come back to this issue of social mobility. They're saying that they would give considerably more hours of early years education to young people from more advantaged backgrounds where the parents are working, and that for a youngster who happens to be in a home where the parent may genuinely not be able to work because of a disability or mental health problem, they essentially will be sent home halfway through the early years day, and those youngsters from more advantaged backgrounds, including the backgrounds of investment bankers, can stay for life.
Okay, quick response, and then I want to come to Tristram.
What David doesn't take account of is that there'll be families receiving help via universal credit for childcare costs, up to 85% as well. But also that our childcare offer extends to working parents who could only be working 8 hours on the national minimum wage that's earning £52 a week. And I think we've seen over the course of the last 5 years that the best way to help people is to help them to get a job.
That gets them out of poverty.
And
if we really want to
raises household
Tristram Hunt, what's the Labour pitch on this?
Well, we believe in supporting working families, and we believe in supporting
does.
working parents, and that's why we will offer 25 hours free childcare a week for 3 and 4-year-olds of working parents, and we're going to pay for that, fully costed, unlike the Conservatives, from the bank levy transfer.
So
that means that our booming
Sorry,
banks...
Nicky, have you saying...
The bank levy has been spent 10 times already, Tristram.
No, there's a difference between the banker's bonus tax and the bank levy. So these are two different streams.
What's the difference?
The difference is one is going to pay for the jobs
but what's
guarantee.
The difference between
well,
the two taxes?
it is a levy on bank transfers, and the other is a tax on bankers' bonuses. So the particular income that you have from bankers.
It's the youth job guarantee.
No.
It's the youth jobs guarantee that's gone from 2 years to a year to 6 months to 3 months.
So the point behind this is that having 2 working parents in a family is a really important way of combating child poverty. But where we agree with the Liberal Democrats is that if you want to battle inequality, if you want to battle disadvantage, you begin in the early years. And that's why we support the early years funding element of the Department for Education budget.
But you're going to give disadvantaged youngsters
it's shocking
less
that
early
the
years
Conservative Party wants to cut that early years investment, because if you want to battle disadvantage, that's where you do it.
Aren't you all making a fundamental assumption, which is that parents of very young children absolutely want to go out to work? There will be some people who don't want to go out to work, and you're not offering anything to them.
Well, they've got
from us,
they've got the married couple's tax allowance, but also, of course, there is help, in terms of income tax, raising income tax threshold for the partner who is working, which also brings more money into the house.
And it's absolutely right they should have that.
But they've got plenty of other things to spend on. Let me come
who is trying to
let me come to UKIP and the Greens on this, because interesting, UKIP, you haven't made any pledges to extend childcare. Why is that?
The pledge that we have made, of course, in this election is that we'll make sure that all primary schools are open from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. and able to provide childcare outside of the current normal school hours, providing that childcare support in schools and making sure that children have a free breakfast.
So who's going to pay for that, and have you costed it? Where's that money coming from?
Yeah, I'd say our manifesto is the only party's manifesto out of all these parties.
So where is that money?
Which is independently costed.
So
by the Centre
where is it? What's the number?
No, the point on this is that actually
you don't know how much it's going to cost.
This is not a policy which should be costing money, because this is childcare provision. This is already available in the system, and all we are saying here is that if we facilitate that childcare to be provided through the current voucher systems at school, that makes a massive difference.
All right, let me come on to the Greens. Because you're almost at the other extreme. From UKIP, they don't seem to be promising, perhaps realistically not too much. You, on the other hand, you're offering free childcare from birth to 7 years. What, are you going to set up kind of green re-education camps for this?
No, this is about using and building on what's already there, but it's about establishing a situation in which people know there's good quality childcare that doesn't require this endless complexity of vouchers and...
I mean, I must say, it does seem very... It does, I mean, when I listen to the three main...
Absolutely baffling,
it does seem very complex.
Yes, and we're saying...
if I can... 15-hour offer for 2 3
Yes, but this week, is it 15 hours here? Is it 16 next week? No. What we're saying is that should be available for all, because this is the single way that is going to be most effective of dealing with disadvantage in this country.
All right.
All the experts would say...
in your manifesto, you're going to spend £23.4 billion a year extra on education.
Absolutely.
And you haven't funded that.
Of course we have.
It's absolute nonsense.
No, if you want me to say where it comes from, I'm very happy to do so, because this is a very
You've got an
rich
economic
country.
policy where somebody will be taxed more.
No doubt it will come from
and you
the
try
wealth
to
tax.
raise more
It will not only come from the rest.
It actually costs the country.
It will not only come from the wealth. But this is an important point, because what we're presented here is 4 views that this country should be run on the shoestring. We're saying we're a wealthy country, and if we want to invest in public services, the money is there.
All right, but no, I want to have some quick-fire questions on this, and if anyone doesn't know the meaning of quick-fire response, I'm happy to tell you. What age should sex education be taught, Nicky Morgan?
I think right the way through from primary school in an age-appropriate way.
Age-appropriate doesn't give me an age. What's an age?
It's primary schools, many of them start with families and relationships, but we make it compulsory for maintained schools, secondary maintained schools.
What age?
From 11.
Well, at the moment, it's from 7 in state-maintained schools.
So we've just raised it.
But only in terms of relationships. Yeah. What we shouldn't be doing is telling very young children about
what age?
Intimate matters of sex. We should keep the 7 age, and we should do something that Nicky hasn't been prepared to do in government, another thing we've disagreed on, which is to extend that age-appropriate sex and relationship education.
Remember quick-fire, I just wanted an age.
Academies.
James Humphreys.
Well, we should start education at 7.
Sex education.
Education about social and personal issues. The sex education, I think, should be brought in at the judgment of teachers, because in all of this, we've heard very little.
School to school.
It may well vary from school
to school.
All
right, that's an answer. Let me move on. Jonathan Arnott.
Formal sex education should start at the age of 11, but before that, of course, it's reasonable to teach about reproduction in science classes, about internet safety and that kind of thing.
Give me an age. Tristram Hunt.
The Labour Party is committed to statutory sex and relationship education. I think teaching children in primary school about the importance of marriage and stable family relationships is entirely appropriate.
Okay.
We are going to consult on the new curriculum. We will consult with professionals on the new curriculum.
Okay.
Unlike this government, we listen to the profession.
Is there enough discipline in British schools, David Laws?
Yes, in the vast majority there is enough discipline, and where you have good head teachers, you get that good discipline.
I think Sir Michael Wilshaw has highlighted the issue of low-level disruption, and one of the reasons, to go back to an earlier record, of the importance of having qualified teachers to be able to control a class, have discipline and attentiveness in a class, so there's always improvement.
So is the answer yes or no?
There's always improvement to be made in discipline.
No, but is that a yes or a no?
Do you know, I've actually forgotten your original question.
Really? It's not that. Well, in that case, you can go to the back of the class. But I'll ask it again. What bit of is there enough discipline in British schools you don't understand?
Well, I prefer the word attentiveness rather than discipline. I like classes having full attention.
OK, I know when to give up, and the definition of quickfire will be sent to you after this programme. Jonathan Arnott?
No, we need to have better behaviour management in our schools and support for teachers, because at the moment it's one of the 2 leading causes of teachers quitting the profession.
Oh, right. And James Humphreys?
I think there is, but what we do also need to do is help teachers to be able to teach in a more interesting and engaging way, and that means tackling issues like Ofsted, which we haven't yet mentioned.
Very well, and you just have.
Would you like me to answer that one?
No. Because I want a one-word answer from you all in the following. Is it acceptable for an education secretary to send their children to a private school? Yes or no, Tristram Hunt?
Yes, in certain circumstances.
No, yes will do.
Well, yes.
OK, David Laws?
Yes.
They should do what's right for the child.
No, yes or no?
They should do what's right for the child.
So that's a yes. If they thought it was a private school,
Yes,
that
if
would
they
be
thought
a yes.
it was right for the child.
So it's a yes.
It's yes if they think it's right for the child.
Very well.
Yeah, I'd go with that.
You would?
It's acceptable. What a sad indictment on the state of the country if you feel the need to do that and you're the education
No, that's
secretary.
good. That's, look, 5 yeses. I know when to quit when I'm ahead. Actually getting a straightforward answer. It's quite an achievement. You have to go and lie in a dark room after this. David Laws, you've attacked Labour's plan to cut tuition fees to 6,000. Do you pledge to keep them at 9,000 if you go into coalition with Labour?
Well, our plans in our manifesto are based upon the existing level of fees. We said we'd have a review a couple of years into the Parliament. But we don't think that Labour's plan makes sense. I refer people to the Institute for Fiscal Studies analysis of the Labour plan, which shows that